Welcome back. Now, constant power cuts are wreaking havoc across all sectors. Schools are being disrupted while studying at home is also hindered. Let's find out if basic education has any plans to mitigate the impact, especially during this important time of the year. We're joined by National spokesperson Mhlanga. Mr. Mhlanga, thank you very much for your time and good afternoon. Firstly, just give us an idea of how this is affecting schools nationwide. We've heard, for instance, from KZN, the government there is expressing quite a lot of worry when it comes to kids not being able to study at home, for instance.
Good afternoon, Maseko. That's correct. The power cuts are having a negative impact on the business of education because to a large extent we depend on it, particularly for teaching and learning in those schools that are schools of specialization, for example, where there is equipment that require electricity for them to be operated. But also just for lighting, you need to enable learners to be able to learn with lights on where this is needed. But also for administration, we use computers in all our schools for data capturing, but also for the system that manages the schooling system as a whole to function, because we capture information from schools. So there is disruption in that case. We are not able to receive all the reports that we require on a regular basis for us to know what is taking place in all our 25,000 schools.
And Mr. Mhlanga, you know, what's also quite saddening or worrisome in this situation is the fact that already earlier this year, the department had announced after those floods that affected schools in KZN that there was even another backlog from then, and now added to that is also fixing other schools that were damaged back earlier this year. And now with this, you're finding departments and different schools having to redirect their budget to try and find alternative ways to get power. There's also those effects, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. You have the infrastructure problem, but then you have curriculum delays, which means learners will not be able to learn everything that they were supposed to go through for the year as per the annual teaching plan. That means they will be left behind, and it's always very difficult to catch up. What you need to do, therefore, is to extend the teaching time in the day, but we know that sometime during the day as well, the power goes off. That means you can't do the things that you wanted to do. And the learners are therefore expected to try catch up at home, but we know that sometimes when they are out of school, they are also affected at home as well. So it has disrupted life in a big way. And our fear with the final grade 12 exams is that ill preparedness could also lead to irregularities where learners are now trying to copy, bringing in notes into the exam centers because they're afraid that they might not have covered everything. So what we do is to try create camps where they can go to try study beyond just the normal hours in places where they have generators so that we're able to extend the study time when schools are closed and over the weekend. So we are trying to find innovative ways to keep learning and teaching going through our learner support programs. But it's unusual, it's not sustainable. We need power to be there. We need a reliable supply for us to be able to continue. So it will also be difficult to judge the performance of the Department of Basic Education as a system with all these power interruptions, because some of the things that we want to do are not possible when the power is off. You will recall also that the class of 2022 are hugely affected by COVID because in 2020 they were in grade 10. They spent many weeks at home. They started late, couldn't finish the curriculum, no exams were written. 2021, the same thing happened, stop of schooling with COVID around. They could not complete the curriculum and there were no meaningful exams written. So it's for the first time right now where we are that they're facing a real exam in their lives. So imagine what they will be feeling or how they will be feeling come the final exams with the power outages happening in the way that they're happening. So they have a huge load on their shoulders, and we really need to support them because the power situation is just making things unbearable.
So the health minister yesterday said that he's been in conversation with the Eskom leadership to try and figure out if there's a way for them not to add hospitals to the scheduled blackouts. Is your department doing the same, perhaps, to try and see how you can mitigate this issue, at least while children are at school?
Yeah, we tried that. We had that conversation with Eskom. They told us that it was going to be impossible to do because schools are spread all over the place. So for you to do that, you really need to, I don't know what, because the schools are located inside communities, and it would be impossible to cut off power to the whole community and leave a school with a supply of electricity. So we've raised that issue, particularly with our exam centers, with our exam storage facilities, with our safety rooms needing electricity for them to operate, but also our district offices, which are also used as hubs for exam management during examination. So we've raised all these matters, but we did not win because they tell us that there are other pressures from other sectors as well, such as health, as we've mentioned, that also require certain provisions for them. So it's difficult. So what we really need is for the Eskom people to sort us out, so that as a country we are back to normal and we are not having to face a situation like we're facing now, where our children are nevers. They can't study at home. In school, they still need to cover the schoolwork that's there. So it's a very difficult situation. That's why we're appealing for support from parents to do whatever they can to minimize disruption so that they're able at least to maximize on the little time that they have for studying.
Especially in a province, for instance, like Gauteng and the Western Cape, where a lot of technology is used because of the paperless classroom, you know, the fact that we're trying to get there. But also, Mr. Mhlanga, just lastly, how is it affecting, you know, the dream or the need to arrive at that fourth industrial revolution?
Well, it does. It affects it because what we've been doing in the past few years and months, we've been working with industry who have been donating their vehicle engines and other equipment that require electricity for them to be operated at school level, for them to learn in practical terms, whatever subject that is being attended to at that time. So when electricity is not available, we are not able to do that. There are some schools that have generators, but it comes at a huge cost when they have to constantly buy fuel to keep the generators operational in the absence of electricity. So you have an uneven situation where some schools can do certain things and others are not able to do that. In fact, the majority are negatively affected. So we really need to normalize the situation in terms of power supply for us to be able to get on with the business of teaching and learning.
All right, Mr. Mhlanga, thank you very much for your time here on eNCA. Elijah Mhlanga, the spokesperson of the Department of Basic Education.